Well, we begin tonight with breaking news here. We've learned that an infant is dead after a deadly crash this afternoon in El Paso. Good evening and thanks for joining us here. I'm Liz DeWicki.
And I'm Robert Olgain. Authorities on the scene right now in central El Paso, and that's where we find KFOX 14 News at 5's Jennifer Cuevas, who is live with what we have learned so far. Jennifer.
Well, this scene remains very active as multiple special traffic investigators with El Paso police remain on the scene here investigating this fatal crash involving an infant. The atmosphere here outside of the federal courthouse feels very different now that Patrick Crucius has officially been sentenced to begin serving his 90 consecutive life sentence. So fire spokesperson just told me that the 10-year-old and the 40-year-old are now in stable condition, the ones that were taken to the hospital as a result of this dog bite. Now, just right behind me, you can see that metal piece of the trailer home is just a couple of wind gusts away from falling off. And it's not just that metal piece, but take a look at this. Also, large pieces of insulation that have fallen off of this abandoned trailer home. Well, while many people understand that this large group of migrants do not have elsewhere to go, and that's why they've been forced to keep on living here on the streets of downtown El Paso, some neighbors I spoke to today say they believe it's unfair their neighborhood is being taken over. It's this concertina wire that's been stirring up a mix of emotions for people in this area. Now, this wire was put up by Texas National Guardsmen as a way to try and deter migrants from entering Texas through New Mexico. It's been almost a week since CBS 4 started asking the Sheriff's Department for an interview to find out what went wrong the night the inmate Jesus Torres was found murdered in his cell. Now, on Friday, the Sheriff's Office explained their policies to us, stating guards conduct rounds every 60 minutes. And today, I caught up with Sheriff Richard Wilds at a campaign event for the candidate he's supporting in next year's sheriff's race. I asked him if guards were conducting the rounds, why it took so long for them to notice there was a problem.
In that particular cell block, it's a general population cell, and those checks are done every 60 minutes, not every 30. And we believe those checks were done.
El Paso County Sheriff Richard Wiles responding to follow-up questions prompted by an inmate on inmate murder that happened on November 26 at the El Paso County Jail Annex. 57-year-old Jesus Torres was found dead in his cell early Monday morning after being killed by 6 other inmates, according to the affidavit, despite Annex employees having to do cell checks every 60 minutes.
There would have been a couple of hours, a couple of 60 minutes, correct? So do we know what happened there?
Wiles stood firm on his employees having done rounds and referenced an annex murder that happened in 1996 under similar circumstances.
After the inmates killed the inmate, they placed the inmate in a position that looked like he'd been sleeping and then moved him around so that when the checks were being made, it just looked like he was sleeping. And we believe that may have happened in this case here, that the inmates who committed the murder were making it appear as if this inmate was asleep when the rounds were being made.
Last week, via email response, I was told the cell capacity is up to 6 inmates per cell in general population, and there are 4 cells in each housing unit for a total of 24 inmates. I asked Sheriff Wiles if it raised any concerns that there were 7 inmates in total in the cell when the incident occurred.
The fact that there was 7 inmates in one dormitory in that housing unit of 24 is absolutely not unusual.
According to the affidavit, a witness heard the, quote, murder victim scream.
Do you have any comment on that in terms of if a witness was able to hear it, potentially a CO would have also been able to hear it?
Yeah, well, a witness maybe in that particular housing area could hear it. But again, there's 144 inmates spread out among 6 24-person housing areas, right? And so there's a lot of noise that's going on.
Now, as for any employee repercussions, Sheriff Wiles says right now they are focusing on finishing up the criminal investigation before beginning an administrative investigation. But as of now, he believes the protocol was followed by employees. I'm reporting live in Far East El Paso, Jennifer Cuevas, CBS 4 at 5:30. The Sunset Funeral Home in Northeast El Paso was filled with family and friends of Anaí Leanos. I spoke with a handful of people who described her as the happiest person they knew. Her friends saying Anaí was a positive person who was full of confidence and light.
It was like my rock, like the person that motivated me. She would always check on me. She'd be like, how are you doing in school? How are you going to school?
In between tears, a middle school friend of Anaí Leanos says there was no one as great to her as Anaí. Today, family and friends gathering for an emotional memorial service in honor of the 17-year-old.
It brought so much joy into your life. It was just like you'd see pink and it reminds you of her. You'll see something like happy and you think of her because she was just, that's what she was. She was sunshine.
Her friends now mourning her death and the future they planned together.
I'm gonna be alone because we made so many plans for graduation, prom, college, and all of that is gone now.
Anaí Leanos was 17 years old when she was killed on Friday of last week after an alleged drunk driver identified as 18-year-old Rugger Clark crashed into her car that was stalled on the side of the border highway. Her cousin, Jessica Badillos, saying Anaí had a full life ahead of her, with many projects to accomplish. Meantime, Anaí's godmother pleading for justice in the death of her goddaughter, saying it's unfair the driver has already bonded out of jail. The burial for Anaí Leanos is set for tomorrow. I'm reporting from the newsroom, Jennifer Cuevas, CBS 4 at 10. Here in El Paso, the Chamber of Commerce and the Borderplex Alliance both say that the railway suspension is detrimental not only to border communities, but also to the entire country. Now, they say it will directly impact agriculture, manufacturing companies, and everyday Americans as the price of goods are likely to go up from this decision.
Truly, this is something that, it causes, catastrophic impacts across our entire economy when you look at the ripple effects that it causes to consumer prices.
Andrea Hutchins, the president and CEO of the El Paso Chamber of Commerce, says a suspension of railway operations in El Paso and Eagle Pass will have a much larger effect beyond border communities.
As one of our nation's leading ports of entry for goods and services, the impact of a rail closure is going to not only impact local businesses here in El Paso, but also the supply chains that El Paso businesses help to connect to.
On Sunday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced railway operations would be suspended beginning Monday at 8 a.m. in El Paso and in Eagle Pass due to the increase of migrant arrivals and agents being redirected to process the migrants. The federal agency statement read in part, after observing a recent resurgence of smuggling organizations moving migrants through Mexico via freight trains, CBP is taking additional actions to surge personnel and address this concerning development, including in partnership with Mexican authorities. John Barella, president and CEO of the Borderplex Alliance, expressed frustration at international commerce being impacted yet again due to the lack of immigration reform on a federal level.
We've been through this before, and once again, international commerce is being affected, jobs are being affected, and hundreds of millions of dollars are being lost because of federal inactivity on this crucial subject.
Barella adds, studies indicate that for every delay of commerce between the U.S. and Mexico, American businesses lose $1 million per minute.
These types of delays do not help our inflationary pressures that are currently existing, because when you have cracks in the supply chain, that leads to increased costs of critical commodities like food and grain type shipments, steel and automotive parts and automobiles. That's what's being effective now.
Now, as of now, there is not a date as to when the railway suspension will be lifted. Barella adds this could lead to significant job loss in the manufacturing industry. I'm reporting live near the U.S.-Mexico border. Jennifer Cuevas, KFOX 14.